everyone. Welcome to This Just In.
And It's Grim, a bi-weekly series where two friends of 3 decades chat about dark subjects.
Before we begin, you should be warned that our series contains language, themes, and material not suitable for children or sensitive Sallies.
So hide your babies and your boomers, and let's dig in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It is. It's like it's nothing. It's like nothing now. Well, and I think that one of two things could be happening. Either it isn't nothing really happened, it really was just what it was, or it's like a huge cover up. I mean, but there's no middle ground. It's either one or the other. Either absolutely nothing fucking happened, or this is the craziest cover up in the history of cover ups.
It could be either one of those. Absolutely, I agree.
Welcome back, guys.
Yeah, welcome back. We're going down a rabbit hole already, so I decided to push the record button mid rant. I was like, let's capture some of this.
Let's do this
because it's a good one. It really. Yeah.
It's hard to make heads or tails. I think that the heads are on the tails and the tails are on the heads. And like, that's why to me, it's like, it could just be the simplest answer is the right answer. But that doesn't, either that or this is the craziest cover up ever. Amy, do you want to tell everyone what we are covering on our second episode of our paranormal season? And it's our first episode that was suggested from a fan.
Absolutely. So we are doing the Tsarichina hole, and it's the excavation in Bulgaria. And this was recommended by my husband, who is Bulgarian, and some people have called it the Bulgarian Area 51. And we'll go into all of the speculation, the rumors, gossip, and so we're going to try to make sure to give you all of the facts, but we also got to give you the rumors and the tea, because there's a lot of it.
Right. I think just like with our own home Area 51, I think that with that, there's a lot of conspiracy and mystery. And just like this one has its own set of mystery and conspiracy and what ifs. So, I guess before we jump into it too much, though, let's let Mima give y'all a trigger warning.
Tonight, the girls are talking about government cover-ups, murder, suicide, aliens, and yellow-haired monkeys.
Thanks, Mima. She's such a gem. Okay. Before we dive into the mysterious activities at the site, I'm going to give y'all some general information. Tsarichina is a village in western Bulgaria in the Kostanbrod municipality of the Sofia province, north of the capital. It is a part of the Balkan mountain range, and there are less than 100 citizens. The entire village spans about 7 square miles, and it is surrounded by rolling hills and wilderness, and was most likely established sometime in the late 1800s. Following the Ottoman Empire. The area is governed by the national government, which is a parliamentary democracy headed by a prime minister and the president. But the agency that oversaw the excavation was the Ministry of Defense. The Ministry of Defense of Bulgaria, or MOD, was established in 1879 and is responsible for the policy, regulation, and management of the Bulgarian armed forces, as well as the general safety of the borders and civilians that reside within. For decades, leading up to 1990, the MOD wasn't just a government department. It was the heavy-set, muscle-bound bodyguard of the Eastern Bloc, where the ministry commanded an army so disproportionately large, it seemed the nation was less a country with an army and more an army with a scenic collection of rose valleys attached. They were the regional heavyweight, the Warsaw Pact's most loyal sentry, standing on the ramparts and staring down NATO with $1 million glare and $1 billion arsenal. But then came the 1990s, the Great Deflation. The collapse wasn't a Hollywood whistle. Suddenly, the script flipped. It was the era of the grand garage sale, where the ministry's formidable inventory began a chaotic migration into the hands of global collectors and shadowy middlemen. And the once mighty officer corps traded in their maps of the Mediterranean for the confusing paperwork of democratic oversight. And among the confusion, out of the chaos, arose a mystery that still baffles today: the Tsarichina Excavation. But before we unravel, let's take a break. Hey listeners, if you reside in Northwest Indiana and are feeling indulgent, you should head over to chantillyluxurychocolates.com.
The chocolates are handcrafted, and each box is filled with expertly selected pieces for both their taste and their visual aesthetic.
Not only are they delicious, with flavors like black cherry cheesecake, salted caramel espresso, and butterscotch pecan crunch, the prices can't be beat, especially for artisan-level chocolates.
And they feature rotating seasonal flavors, the ability to customize boxes, consultation services for a variety of culinary and confection inquiries, and party favors to go along with your next big event.
So, Indiana, if life is like a box of chocolates, you may as well make it luxurious. Visit chantillyluxurychocolates.com or check them out on Instagram today.
Now back to the show.
You're on?
All right. So to understand the Tsarichina Hole, you have to understand the country it happened in and the exact moment in history in which it happened. So Roxanne went over a little bit more about what was happening, but in 1990, Bulgaria was in a freeze. So for 33 years, the People's Republic of Bulgaria had been ruled by a communist dictator named Todor Zhikov, the longest-serving leader in the entire Eastern Bloc. On November 10th, 1989, one day after the Berlin Wall fell, the Bulgarian Communist Party's own Central Committee forced Zhikov out. His 33-year grip on power ended not through a popular revolution, but through a backroom coup by his own party colleagues, who could read the geopolitical writing on the wall. What followed was chaos, the polite academic term for which is transition. According to Wikipedia's History of Bulgaria from 1990 forward, the Communist Party gave up its claim to power under street protest in February 1990. The country held its first free election in June of that year, its first since 1931. And those elections were won by the Bulgarian Socialist Party, which was awkwardly simply renamed Bulgarian Communist Party. The economy was contracting, inflation was mounting, institutions that had existed for decades were dissolving.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. But I just had this conversation about how people love their titles and none of it matters. Nothing matters. None of it matters. It doesn't mean anything. People, not only do they respect titles, but they lose it when you take titles away from them. And that's just what this is to me. That's just reminded me of that.
One thing I was going to bring up when we go over the series rewind, I was going to jot some notes, because when we went over last seasons on the KKK, when we were researching the Democratic Party and the Republican Party from the very beginning, exactly.
You can't tell who was what.
It's
no.
so ass backwards,
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to cut you off. But yeah, guys, if you're listening and you're worried about titles or your own title or a title being taken away from you, I promise it really it matters not. It does not matter.
And if we're thinking about the Golden Dawn and the Grey Wolves and the people who are in those parties, and what happens if that one collapses, those motherfuckers are still there.
Yeah, they just have a
they're
name.
going to start up something else. And I mean, even businesses do the same thing. Oh, we're not 7-Up anymore. We're this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they'll buy out a company and then brand it something, be completely different so that they can not be connected back to that company because it would be a conflict of interest to their stakeholders or something. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Go ahead.
The economy was contracting, inflation was mounting, institutions that had existed for decades were dissolving or restructuring. The Bulgarian military, every arm of the Bulgarian state, was operating and a profound institutional vacuum under new and nominal leadership, stripped of its old ideological framework with no clear sense of what was for or what came next. It is into the moment a country in crisis, an army without a mission, a population primed for something miraculous that a handful of psychics arrive with a. The story begins with a man named Dimitar Kekaminov. According to the documented accounts reported by the Astonishing Legends podcast and corroborated by multiple Bulgarian sources, Kekaminov was a local treasure hunter who began experiencing what he described as vivid dreams and psychic messages. Disembodied voices, he claimed, told him that he was a descendant of Tsar Samuel, the Bulgarian emperor who ruled the First Bulgarian Empire in the early 11th century, and whose legendary lost treasure had been a subject of local folklore for centuries. These voices told Kikimino it was his patriotic duty to find Samuel's hidden sword, and by finding it would restore prosperity to suffering Bulgaria. On its own, this is the kind of thing that might get you politely shown the door of any government office, but Bulgaria in 1990 was not operating under ordinary conditions.
No.
Kikimov found sympathetic ears among high-ranking officers in the Bulgarian Defense Ministry, according to Vagabond, and that's an English language publication, and it's a Bulgarian publication, but in English. With solid editorial standards, a group of psychics convinced some of the army's top brass that they had intelligence about a legendary golden treasure hidden in the nondescript village of Tsarichina near Sofia. Bulgarian military officers who took psychic intelligence seriously were not operating outside the norms of their time. Whatever their precise chain of events, the decision was made at a senior level. Would dig. Operation begins December 6, 1990. Bulgarian Ministry of Defense deployed military personnel, equipment, and classified orders to Tsarichina. Army trucks, mobile floodlights, engineering teams. The entire area around the designated dig site is fenced off, placed under 24-hour armed guards, and declared a military exclusion zone. According to multiple documented sources, armed sentries turned away curious locals, and it was understood that intruders would be dealt with severely. The operation was classified. Its official name was been reported variously as Operation Lightbeam, Operation Sunbeam, Operation Shining Ray. The discrepancy may reflect deliberate renaming to confuse document trails, or simply the chaotic record keeping of a covert project. Wikipedia's entry on Tsarichina uses Operation Lightbeam, 2007 BTV documentary, which we'll discuss later, found many files had been relabeled after the fact. The cover story given to locals was simple. The army was looking for lost treasure of Tsar Samuel. This was, at minimum, partially true. Samuel's treasure was part of what the psychics claiming to be targeting. Whether it was the whole truth is something no official record has ever confirmed. Here's where the story becomes genuinely extraordinary. Unlike any conventional archaeological or engineering excavation, the Tsarichina dig was not guided by geological surveys, ground penetrating radar, or any conventional scientific methodology. It was guided primarily by psychics. The most prominent of these was a woman named Elisaveta Loginova. Loginova claimed to be in continuous telepathic contact with an entity or entities she believed resided within the tunnel. She described receiving over 1,000 pages of coded messages during the excavation, which she transcribed by hand. Her account was documented in multiple sources, describes these messages as the collection of ancient scriptures describing the creation of humanity, humanity's transportation of Earth, and instructions for preserving life on the planet. Loginova also reported to the military that the dig team had encountered a rectangular stone slab of unknown material relatively early in the excavation. Information she said she gleaned through psychic means rather than physical inspection. She identified the slab as a bio-shielding slab covered in dangerous bacteria, and she told the military it should not be touched. According to Colonel Svetkov Kanev, whose leaked accounts are the closest thing to insider documentation of the operation, later compiled in a book titled The Tsarichina Phenomenon. The team had indeed reached a strange spiral tunnel and encountered a mysterious rectangular object. No independent verification of this claim has ever been established. A second psychic involved in the operation, Marina Naplatanova, died by suicide during the excavation. Accounts described her as overwhelmed by the volume of psychic work the project demanded. Internal tensions between her and Logunova were reported be significant. The precise circumstances of her death have never been officially documented. Other psychics were brought in various points and reportedly left when they found the experience too destabilizing. The accounts of these individuals have not been formally documented in primary sources available in English. One of the most telling details of the Tsarichina excavation is how dramatically and repeatedly the stated target shifted. Wikipedia's entry on the Tsarichina, drawing on documentation from Bulgarian sources, records the progression explicitly. Over 2 years, the psychics leading the project changed their account of what was buried beneath the Tsarichina several times. At various points, the target was described as the lost medieval treasure hoard of Tsar Samuel, a yellow-haired monkey, a biblical personage of unspecified identity, a hermaphroditic extraterrestrial being whose discovery would disprove Darwinian evolution theory and reveal humanity's extraterrestrial origins. No account of the Tsarichina excavation is complete without mentioning one of the most famous figures in Bulgarian culture history, Vanga. Her born Evangelia Pandeva Oshtarova in 1911. Baba Vanga was a blind Bulgarian mystic and self-described clairvoyant who became one of the most widely consulted psychic figures in Eastern Europe and the Soviet world. She died in 1996. She is credited by her believers with predicting events ranging from September 11th to the Chernobyl disaster. These predictions are all interpreted retroactively and have no verified predictive record. She remains a significant cultural figure in Bulgaria, though. According to documented accounts in the Astonishing Legends podcast and multiple Bulgarian sources, the Tsarichina team consulted Baba Vanga during the excavation. Her reported response was characteristically cryptic, but alarming. She confirmed, according to these accounts, that the site contained something real and extraordinary, but warned what may lay below was not meant to be disturbed. Specifically, she described a capsule containing a simian-like asexual being in a state of suspended animation and asked, "What would you do once it woke up?" According to some accounts, Benga's pronouncement revived flagging morale and commitment among the project's military leadership at point when the effort was becoming increasingly difficult to justify. Whether this is accurate and whether any formal record of such consultation exists is unknown. We kept no documented records of her consultations, and the Bulgarian government has never confirmed the meeting. As the dig deepened, the reports of strange phenomena began circulating among soldiers stationed at the site and among local villagers. It is important to note clearly phenomena described here come from witness accounts and participant testimonials. They have not been scientifically investigated, independently verified, or confirmed by any official source. They are documented here as reported experience, not established facts. With that caveat clearly stated, according to multiple collected accounts, soldiers and locals in around the Terracina reported seeing unidentified aerial phenomena lights in sky above the excavation site, described variously as orbs, flashes, and structured. Some soldiers repeated that their equipment malfunctioned without explanation near the dig site. Some reported auditory phenomenon sounds that seemed to come from no identifiable source. Local villagers reported what they described as intrusive thoughts, thoughts that they felt were not their own. During the excavation period, the psychic Loginova maintained throughout the project, she was in active communication with the entities within the tunnel, receiving ongoing transmissions in coded form. Colonel Kanev's leaked accounts describe finding physical structures within the tunnel, a spiral formation. The unidentified rectangular slab, though no photographic or physical evidence from the inside of the tunnel has ever been made available. After exactly 2 years, 1 month, and 13 days of continuous excavation, the project ended with no warning and no explanation. On November 19th, 1992, according to all documented accounts, the military rapidly withdrew. Personnel were recalled, equipment was packed, and then, with no prior announcement, no official statement to the villagers, workers poured concrete into the hole, sealing it permanently. 2 years of military engineering work, significant public expenditure in a country where acute economic strain, and then concrete. The official reason given, such as it was financial concerns. No detailed financial accounting was provided. No report from the excavation findings, positive or negative, was released. Loginova later told journalists that all her notebooks containing the coded transcripts she had recorded, along with the video footage shot at the site before the closure, had vanished. She stated, "I have no evidence to confirm or report. I can only tell you in words that I hope people believe." No official inventory of what was or was not found in the tunnel was released. The men left Tsarichina and never came. So the immediate aftermath of the Tsarichina excavation was, in a word, nothing. The Bulgarian government said nothing. The Ministry of Defense said nothing. No press release, no parliamentary inquiry, no journalistic investigation that broke through the official wall of silence in the years immediately following the closure. What eventually did emerge gradually and through fragmented channels was a pattern of documented disappearance that never been satisfactorily explained. In 2007, 15 years after the excavation ended, Bulgarian television channel BTV broadcast a documentary specifically examining the Tsarichina. According to Wikipedia's document account of this broadcast, investigators found that the most of the military documents pertaining to the Tsarichina operations from 1990 92 had disappeared from government archives or had been destroyed. This is not a rumor. This is documented findings of a mainstream Bulgarian television investigation. What did survive, according to these investigations, were fragments, scattered receipts, administrative correspondence, and file reclassifications. Researchers noted, and this detail appears in the analysis of the operation, that many files originally labeled under one operation name had been relabeled under another, suggesting that deliberate effort to obscure the paper trail. Whether this reflects standards, classification practices, deliberate destruction of evidence, or something in between has never been established. Two deaths are documented in connection with the Tsarichina project, and both are noted in Wikipedia's page. So the first is Marina Navratnitova, one of the psychics involved in the excavation. She died by suicide, as I mentioned earlier. The circumstances of her death, whether it was formally investigated in connection to the participation in the project, has not been documented. The second of was a military officer involved in the operation, also died by suicide approximately 3 years after the project ended around 1994. Whether his death had any connection to the events remains unknown. No investigation linking the two has been documented. The deaths are noted here as facts, not as evidence, anything beyond the human tragedy that they represent. Two of the most significant primary source documents from the Tsarichina operation are books written by participants. Colonel Tsevetko Kanev, one of the military officers involved in the operation, published what is referred to in Bulgarian sources as the Tsarichina phenomenon, also known as the Queen phenomenon. The book contains Kanev's account of the operation from an insider's perspective, including his descriptions of the physical discoveries he says the team made underground. It's not been fully translated into English. Summaries of its contents available on the site Forgotten Bulgaria via forgottenbulgaria.com provide partial accounts of Kanev's claims regarding the spiral tunnel and the unidentified rectangular slab. Elizaveta Loginova published Tsarichina Fateful Contact, a detailed account of her psychic experiences during the excavation. In this book, she describes her claimed communications with the entity or entities she believes inhabited the tunnel, the coded messages she received, and her belief that the site was a portal to another dimension. Anyways, the book that had been cited as a primary source in multiple subsequent accounts of the Tsarichina case, and other participants in the project have reportedly vouched for the accuracy of at least some of her description of events. Both books exist within the genre of personal testimony. Neither constitutes independent verification of the extraordinary claims made. Both are documented as existing sources, firsthand accounts from people who were there without endorsement of their paranormal content. In the years following the shutdown, the story slowly, then more rapidly as the internet created networks for paranormal and conspiracy research communities to share and expand the case. The site earned the nickname Bulgaria's Area 51, a comparison to the notoriously secretive U.S. Air Force facility in Nevada that has become a cultural shorthand for government concealment. The comparison captures something true about Tsarichina. Like Area 51, it is a real government installation where something real happened, surrounded by a vast and unverifiable cloud of claims about what something was. Among the theories that have circulated in conspiracy and paranormal communities, and it is important to note these are speculative theories, not documented facts. The Bulgarian military found a dimensional portal or interdimensional gateway beneath Sarachina. The tunnel contained an alien skeleton or alien remains. The site concealed plans for extraterrestrial technology. Um, the tunnels held evidence of the lost continents of Atlantis. A triangular alien spacecraft was found. What else was there? The site was
The monkeys thing, the yellow monkeys thing is my favorite.
It is my favorite. The site was and remains a containment structure for an entity or being that is not human. None of these claims have document support. All of them circulate in paranormal research communities and have been part of the Sarachina story for decades. One more grounded, though still unverified theory that has appeared in some groups suggests that Sarachina operation may have been a cover for something more prosaic, illegal disposal of radioactive or toxic materials in the unstable early post-communist years when environmental regulation was essentially non-existent and the military was looking for places to quietly address Soviet-era waste. This theory is speculative, but has been noted by analysts as potentially explaining the abrupt shutdown and the concrete ceiling without requiring a paranormal explanation. What the site continues to attract is visitors, conspiracy researchers, paranormal enthusiasts, UFO investigators, and simply curious people who arrive to stand in an unremarkable patch of ground that and contemplate what might be 70 meters below their feet. Whether the concrete is still holding, whether Longanova's sealed entity is still there, transmitting coded messages that no one above ground can receive anymore, Sarachina Hole is, at its confirmed minimum, the story of a newly democratic post-communist military spending 2 years and significant public money in an impoverished country digging a very deep hole in a small village based on the guidance of psychics, then sealing it with concrete, destroying their records, and saying nothing. That alone is remarkable. What may or may not have been in the hole is something no one living outside whoever made those decisions to pour concrete can say with confidence. Now, time for a quick break. Hey, listeners, if you live in Colorado and haven't added functional fungi to your wellness routine, you might be missing that key ingredient.
That's right. Studies show that mushrooms can have a variety of benefits, and the folks over at Activated Brands have done the science for us.
Located in Arvada, Colorado, Activated uses the latest in extraction technology to create high-quality mushroom products like gummies and elixirs.
So you get the benefit in convenient and tasty ways. like sour melon or strawberry horchata gummies, and the apple mint elixir.
And not just products, Activated Brands host workshops, offer a community workspace to local growers, and have all the supplies, information, and advice available if you want to grow for yourself.
And that's why you can trust a company like Activated Brands. They are always willing to share their expertise. But don't take our word for it. Go see for yourself. The lab is open.
For more information like hours and location, or to order products, you can visit activatedbrands.com or check them out on Instagram.
Now back to the show. And we are back. So, as we learned in our last episode, urban legends don't die easily, and this is where the Tsarichina Excavation site stands today. Shrouded in a mystery larger than itself, of course, this was no thanks to the government. In the late 90s, Bulgaria was cleaning house in preparation for its NATO candidacy, and many of the files connected to the site were destroyed at the time. This set psychics and conspiracy theorists off on a path, and before long, many were flocking to the area once again to theorize what happened there and what could still be happening. This include energy readings from the now concreted area, UAP and UFO sightings, and other claims of the supernatural. The 2000s in the World Wide Web only broadened the tale, and the site was once again being visited by psychics and conspiracy theorists. This was followed by more books being released on the subject, more claims of the supernatural, and entire websites being dedicated to the mystery. And in 2008, when a FOIA reveal from the CIA was released to the public, and there was a mention of the Tsarichina site, it only added fuel to the fire. Today, the Tsarichina mystery has completed its journey from a gritty military secret to a polished piece of global pop culture. It has officially entered the legacy phase, where the actual dirt and concrete matter less than the stories we tell about them. The biggest recent development is that Tsarichina has hit the big screen. A major dark comedy satire film titled Triumph was released in late 2024, early 2025, and it mocks the absurdity of the 1990s military leadership, following a psychic to find an alien artifact that would make Bulgaria great again. If you visit the village of Tsarichina today, the physical reality is surprisingly mundane compared to the legends. The entrance remains a heavy, weathered concrete slab in the middle of a field. It is overgrown with weeds and covered in graffiti, ranging from "aliens live here" to simple local tags. There is no longer a high-security military presence. You can walk right up to it. The locals still warn tourists not to hang around after dark. Tsarichina is the perfect mystery because it can't be debunked. The military made sure of that when they poured the concrete. Whether it was a mass hallucination fueled by the stress of a collapsing government or a genuine close encounter, it remains the weirdest thing the Bulgarian Ministry of Defense ever did. And you guys, that's all my part. Is that all your part?
Yeah, this has been, I don't know.
I think we filled some holes in.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
So it's so bizarre. It's so random.
It is.
You just imagine like having the balls to go up to like straight up military dudes, be like, guys,
Listen,
dream.
follow me.
We
Get
got
your friends. We got to go.
We got treasure. Like,
We
you know, and they're all like, fuck it. Let's
Let's
fucking
go.
do this.
Let's
Do
go.
this.
Put on black, babies. Like, no, that's fucking wild. Like, just, and you know, I know our CIA is really wild, but like, they're wild too. Everybody's got their own little group of crazy government officials doing silly shit, you know? It's good to see.
Yeah.
No, it really
Yeah,
is. This is very interesting. And how about we tell them what our next episode is?
Absolutely. So our next episode is on cursed films.
Guys, it's a fun one. So join us for our live next week. Otherwise, look out for Cursed Films. It'll be uploaded after that. Did that work?